And good evening. We are live on Let's Talk, Real Talk on Parental Alienation and Intimate Partner Abuse with our special guest and Andy Martens on the Andy Martens Show. We have Penny Fisher all the way from Toronto. Welcome, Penny, and Andy from Sault Ste. Marie. And Andy has lost his ability to get on to the Andy Martens Show to share
Ah,
this program, which is very detrimental out there for everyone going through family court, parent alienation. It's a very widespread topic these days, and losing the Andy Martin Show platform right now, we're still fighting for it, is really hard for us to spread awareness as we used to. So bear with us out here. If you could share, whatever you can to help support this show to keep going. I mean, Andy Martins and I are now on our third year. We've had Penny did back. This is the second time, Penny, for you.
Third or
Third time
fourth.
now.
third
Third
Penny
time.
was hiding. We did audio the first time,
Right.
audio only.
Yeah, and then one time it was really bad. We couldn't hear it, so we had to
Yeah.
delete that one. But we're going to do another one here with Penny, and I'm going to let Andy talk for a minute while I share this program to all the groups out there, so that that in Ontario we are fighting here with Vernon Beck Canada Court Watch for cameras in the court. It's very important. That will help us on these parent alienation cases, because we don't get a voice once we're in family court, an alienating parent. It's more so the targeted parent that gets left out of everything. You lose your children, you lose even your own lives, grandparents, half the families. So,
Yeah,
Andy,
we'll talk about that you after you share, Mary, because I have
yeah,
touched base and asked for an interview with Doug Downey, who's the Attorney General of Ontario. He's a
right,
member MPP from Barrie. So we are making contacts, and we're going to make it happen for this issue of the
yes.
cameras in the courtroom.
Right, because I'll be meeting with Doug Ford on Friday the 16th in Milton, Ontario. First time ever Doug Ford comes
That's
to
right, out of
Milton.
Etobicoke. That's right. If
Yeah,
you get
so
Doug Ford on your phone, we're going to stream it live.
we're going to stream it live, and I'm going to be handing Doug Ford personally the letter I have written about cameras in court and the importance, because our children are suffering. So, we need support out there, and I mean, I'm doing the best I can as to my ability with my experience. So if people have issues of me speaking about my story, well, you know what, my story is what millions of others are right behind, and they're all falling through the
That's
same
right.
cracks as I have. So Doug Ford, if he does this, he will be history's first ever to keep the cameras in court for us. Protection. We need judges and lawyers to be held accountable for all the abuse inflicted to all millions of these parents, grandparents, children. We're all suffering. It needs to come to an end. So, anyways, Andy, take it, and you
Yeah,
can.
the other, we can also look at interviewing Bonnie Crombie and the NDP leader as well. Bonnie Crombie is running as a leader of the Liberal Party now. And it's
Nice.
important, Mary. I love your timing because Doug Ford is in it for himself. He switched it around. It's more important to get beer in the corner store because he may call an early election because of the federal election. He knows that Justin Trudeau's on his way out next year. And if we
Absolutely.
have a conservative government in Canada, federally, usually we elect a different party in power provincially. So Doug Ford's all in it for himself. He doesn't want to wait till 2026. So he's shaping up to be an early provincial election next year as well. So
Right,
we
right,
got
because
to
he's only got
hit him
2
now.
years left, right?
That's
Two
right.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's got to make the best of these last 2 years, he'll make it. He'll make it for us. I know he will.
Right.
But I think
All
So,
right.
I think it's
We'll
important
get.
that the credit, yeah,
Go
one
ahead,
second.
Penny. Yeah.
the credit
But
goes actually to us rather than to him. He may be
yeah,
the one that actually pushes it through, but
That's
we've
right.
done the work. So he
right.
doesn't get credit for that.
No, but he could help us get the credit. And, that would
Right.
be quite an honor for us to
Yeah.
put this down in history. We could save millions of
Mhm.
families out there and taxpayers'
Yeah.
dollars. Don't forget, it's everybody's
True.
paying for all these unnecessary court cases that are lingering for my case, 19 years, Penny, 19 years. There's families, my ex-husband, 64 years in the family court. Come on.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
It really is, and
it is.
that's great. The 16th of August, Mary. That's coming up.
Yes, next Friday. And,
All
and we'll
right.
be there from 5 to 9 p.m. So it's
Awesome.
going to
Well, I'll
be,
just jump on my private jet and come down and take a
you
limousine
never
from
know. You never know.
Pearson to Milton. No problem.
Yeah, well, we'll go
And doing
to
that,
province
Milton,
and help. It's going to
not Milton.
snowball. We have to start somewhere. Ontario
That's
is
right.
where I am. It'll happen next somewhere down, out east, out west. We want it go Canada wide, then to the US and UK. I mean, one step at a time,
Well, I'll
right?
tell you, if we were dealing with Alberta, Danielle Smith, who's the premier in Alberta right now, would be a lot easier to deal with than Doug Ford is.
Mm-hmm.
That woman's got her act together, and the only woman premier in Canada right now, and she's got her stuff together. So, anyway, let's get the show on the road. And Penny, why don't you start the show off? You haven't been on for a while to let the audience kind of remind them of your situation.
Thank you very much for having me back. I'm really greatly honored to be back and have everything actually work this time. So yeah, my story started a long time ago, but as far my ex was abusive. He was physically abusive in that he would destroy things and claim that it wasn't domestic violence if he wasn't hitting me. But it was still domestic violence because he was using a body to intimidate and control. He did have a history with Children's Aid against the children, very controlling, everything, everything focused on him. And it was actually for a free life. I was going to work and keep pumping out kids, and that way he could get more money to live a free life. And finally, I put up, something happened, and the blinders that I didn't know I had on finally came off, and I suddenly came together. So I started putting boundaries up, and that's when the alienation started. So, and I just slowly watched myself disappear in front of my children. I went from mom to Penny to a few choice words to nothing at all. Within 6 months, I still had to live under the same roof. The lawyer I was trying to get him out of the house, but the lawyer forgot that I had to help me out. So I ended up having to go. And then when the lawyer, I said, I have to leave. He said that, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh,
Somebody's,
sorry, I don't want to stop you, Penny, but
yeah,
is there music coming from somewhere
there
I'm
is. And
hearing?
it's just, I have to close my window. Just 1 second. Of course, they just
Oh,
start
okay.
as soon as I start.
Okay,
Hang on.
no problem. Yeah. Always happens that way, eh, Mary? They want to be
Yeah,
part of the broadcast too.
yeah, exactly. That's funny that you can hear
Uh,
it through her window. The
I know,
neighbors.
wait a minute. Am I hearing things here?
Yeah, I thought I was hearing it too, but good thing it was not me.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Sorry. And that was across the parking lot.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Loud.
anyway, as I was saying, the alienation started. At first, it was the older two that I had, and because I have 4 kids. And then suddenly it was just I was no longer mom, and it was okay for the children to hit me. It was okay for the children to, including the daughter that I'm living with now. So yeah, so I finally got out, but unfortunately I had listened to my lawyer one last time, and he told me go to the wrong court when it came to getting the emergency custody order, and I ended up at the wrong court and ran out of time to get a emergency order. So I had to end up leaving under police protection anyway. And within 24 hours, he was accusing me of kidnapping and had a court order to have the children returned by force if necessary.
Wow.
So, and then, you know, and so it begins. And 19 years later, I'm still going through it. In fact, my
And it
youngest just
happened
had her
in
birthday.
Toronto.
Sorry?
This happened in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, and,
yeah.
Sorry.
And so when the older two became 18 and 19, he turned to the younger two. And my youngest turned within, I would say, 3 days. She left me very affectionate, very hugging, kissing, everything else. And then 3 days later, she wouldn't even look at me. I thought something was wrong and that she was sad about something, and she became a completely different child. So it was, it's been a nightmare, an ongoing nightmare. And, you know, yes, I feel bad for myself, but I feel worse for them because
Yes.
I know what they're going through. And
They're
I know
struggling.
that this is not who they really are. And, you know, I understand what living in the isolation and the silence, and not knowing what to do. This is what they have to do to survive. And that is child abuse.
Yes.
So I feel very strongly that, you know, I feel no animosity or anger towards my children at all. In fact, you know, my heart breaks for them. You know.
Yes, they had to grow up too fast. I mean, they became enmeshed with the alienator. It's almost like they became the alienator's husband or wife, because it happens to boys and girls. So, you know, my son at 18 took over the role for his father to hang up on the phone when I called because the father wasn't there to do it. So he controlled his sisters.
And the same with my son. Yeah. And my son, I affectionately call him Darth Vader because he has forgotten he's Anakin and he must obey his master. And he's now become his father's enforcer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, again, I don't feel bad towards him because, you know, until the alienation started, he didn't have a relationship with his father.
Yes, so mine too. Yeah.
He has grabbed at this with both hands.
Conditional.
And it's just, you know, this is what he's always wanted, but not in the way he wanted it.
That's
this
right.
is the way he has it, and this is the price he has to pay to have it.
And it's funny how we can see that as the alienating parent, whether we're a mother or a father. We can feel how these children are pulled back from us into the gut of the alienator, because it's not in their heart, it's in the gut. And these alienators have such a hatred for us. So the children are stuck in, it's like being pregnant again, but they get to be the pregnant ones this time, and they're sucking the child into that hole.
Right.
Empty story they have.
They've lost their childhood. Their childhood ended when the alienation started.
Yes.
You know, and that's a shame because childhood only comes once.
Yes, it does. And it's sad that these children have to beg for love somehow.
Yeah.
And they have to, you know, obey the alienating parent, whether they would push the parent down the stairs or, you know, swear at them or run away from them, cry false allegations. These kids would do anything for the alienating parent to accept them as something, because they know the targeted parent will always love them.
Right.
We will always love our children
Right.
unconditionally. So they
Yeah.
will abuse us knowing that's what they watched us do when we went back to our spouses,
Right.
right?
The two scenes that I think of clearly that demonstrate this are from the Star Wars sagas. And one is when Luke comes before the Emperor with Darth Vader, and the Emperor forces them to fight one another,
Right.
and said, "If you will not turn, you will be destroyed." And the other one is from the later, was it The Last Jedi? I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
When Kylo Ren, Han Solo's son with Leia, has become Kylo Ren, and he ends up killing his father, and basically says, "I'm being torn apart. Will you help me?" And his father says, "Anything." And then he ends up killing his father, and then that's his journey to the dark side. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all to appease the emperor and the powerful one. So I look at the emperor as the alienating parent, and I look at the other parents and the other family members as the targeted uh, individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is what the children have to do. So I don't feel anything bad about my kids at all. I just feel, like I just want to cry for them.
Me too. And I do. I have to, in order to,
Yeah.
because we're sitting here watching our children get abused and we
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything, but yet we get
Yeah.
accused of abusing them,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
the double standard right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are these
Yeah.
courts legally abusing our children? It's all for profit. They're making money off our kids and they don't care
Right.
what they're doing because now the mental health has risen double. Pharmaceutical companies are making money because these kids are put on all kinds of drugs
Mm-hmm.
while they're going through this.
Yeah.
And then they get to be addicted to alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
as they're teens because
Mm-hmm.
they've already been on Ritalin and all this other stuff when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. That's a
Yeah.
stimulant that they get addicted to later on in life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
come on, stop abusing our kids.
Well, yeah, and I would also say those that we go to for help, the ones that prioritize money over helping the children,
Mm-hmm.
who know exactly what the kids are going through, yet they choose to walk away because money is more important than helping the kids.
The child's
So
lives, yeah.
I would argue that that's aiding and abetting in child abuse.
Absolutely. And this is why we need cameras in court to capture these judges and these lawyers. These lawyers are the pushers. You
Yeah.
know, kids are the addicts. The
Mm-hmm.
alienating parents are the addicts, and the lawyers are the pushers,
Mm-hmm.
taking the drug from the judges.
Right.
This is how we see it, and they put them into rehab programs. All this money that they get funded
Mm-hmm.
to abuse our children that we raised one time with love, care, respect, to
Yeah.
be accused of all these hatred things. It's
Mm-hmm.
so sad. My son's in the Navy and he can't help his mother, but he can go off across the world over and over on these Navy ships pretending to be a hero. And he's suffering inside. He's in the dark web. He's trashing himself in the dark web, hating women because
Yeah.
he had to be put through this for 19 years, and that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I
And
can't
that's what I'm
save my
concerned
boy.
about now. Yeah. That's what I'm concerned about now, especially with my son, because this is not who my son is. My son was the most caring individual. He would give you the shirt off his back. Okay, I will just say he scores high on protection
Mm,
for others, and that's been used against him. And so now, then, rather than protecting others, he protects his father.
yes.
Um, but I mean, this is not who he is. So my concern is if this is what it's okay to treat his mother, his older sister, because she's been discarded too, for 12 years. Um, how is he going to treat his partner, the mother of his child, his children? How is if that's okay, then is that what he's going to bring forward to his own family? And then it goes into the next generation.
It's exactly it.
That's I really am. It scares me. It scares me a lot that's what could happen. And
one of our children could be killed during that.
Yeah.
Not just ours, anybody's child. I mean, look at all these women that have been killed, men, boys, girls. It's horrible that, they have to do this so that the other parent doesn't get to see the child anymore. If you can't have them, if I can't have them, you won't either. What kind of attitude is that? That's mental health issues. Where's that coming from? Right? These parent bullies are the ones that condition the children right from birth. So the kids are literally begging for attention.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what do you think, Andy?
Said it best, I think, 3,000 years ago in his play Medea. Now, I mentioned Medea only because that's the name of the play, but I don't want to mention the fact that it's just women who do this. Abuse is a mentality, it's not a gender. But Euripides really pinpointed the mentality behind alienation. And he said simply, I have done it because I loathed you more than I loved the children.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 3,000 years ago. So there have been alienation as long as there have been parents.
Yes.
Well, that's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. We've been mentioning on the show many times that, Mary and your ex and Mary's ex, they never loved you guys to begin with. From this word go, it was just one BS, smoke and mirrors. And it's a fact, because you cannot love somebody and do what these men have done.
No, not at all.
And I wouldn't say it's not just men who do it. Men are not just the aliens. Yeah. It's women too. It just depends on who, what they're all using children as weapons.
Right. But as you can see, as you see though, our children are boys and girls, so they're learning the same thing.
Yes.
In our eyes, we see both of them, the gender. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be 50-50 soon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So these kids are going to be hooking up with each other because there'll be no one out there that's not damaged.
Right.
So what's going to happen? They get violenter, if there's such thing, because they're going to they can't handle conflict. They don't know what love is. They don't know how to deal with a relationship. They don't know how to go to work. I mean, they don't know because they aren't raised that way anymore. That ethics are gone. Their morals are gone. Respect is no longer there because the alienators aren't going to teach them anything.
Right. And I have to mention too that with alienation, their development stops when the alienation stops. When I said it, they lost their childhood ended. Not only did their childhood end, but their development ended because they're not allowed to become independent. They're not allowed to become self-functioning. Everything has to be for the alienator. So they stop. They may be chronologically a certain age, but they're stuck at the age that the alienation started. So like my son is in his 30s now, but he's functioning at 14.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest is 24 now. She's functioning at 9. How is that a healthy adult?
It's not.
Unless there's some kind of intervention or some kind of therapy or some kind of support. How are they going to break out of that?
That's what I've been fighting for in the trial that I recently had. After 18 years alienated, the ex brought the adult children onto the stand after 18 years, trying to say now that I wanted nothing to do with them. But my 34-year-old was 18. My 33-year-old was 17, and my 31-year-old was 15. That
Right.
in a adult's body. I
Right.
watched these kids on Zoom, and it was the most horrific. It was like watching a zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
And my son at 34 suffered a psychotic episode because he was badgered by the lawyer, pushed to lie, to lie. Oh, and what else? What else? What else? What else? Like, what else? What are you talking about? Like, what? You could see he was almost, hate to see it, but it looked like he had a heart on, pushing my kids to lie. No, I'm kidding. Like, he was so aggressive that I had to email my lawyer and say, tell the judge to have the lawyer stop badgering my son. And my son suffered psychotic episodes, screaming at me on Zoom. Like, his face was right up against the camera.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, how could a judge sit there and allow this to happen? Could she not see these children are damaged? Because during the conference, what is it before the trial? The conference, not mediation. Choosing the witnesses and stuff, and I begged the judge. The trial prep. I begged the judge, don't put my kids on there. They don't know what happened in the last 18 years. I haven't seen them. They've been kept from me. What are they going to say on the stand, right? So,
well,
this is
and also there's the other thing too, is they've been kept from you. So how can it be you?
Well, that's it. And now it's proven that parental alienation leads into estrangement, because the title of the court case was estrangement. I've been estranged from my children for 10 years. The father says, no, you kept the kids for 10 years. Well, 18 years at that time. You kept the kids because you had me falsely arrested. So, all these things coming back into play. Had cameras been in the court 19 years ago, this would never have happened. I would never had to be going to trial. Because this is where the money was. $175,000 to the loser to pay for a trial. I didn't lose.
Yeah.
Children's education money, children's health money. They could have had. I begged the judge, if I win anything in this lawsuit, give it to the kids and put them in some kind of therapy to help them to heal. I haven't seen them since. It's been almost 2 years of September. Again. And I'm getting, sued for estrangement. This is what's going to happen to all these children. They're all going to say, oh, I get to sue my mom or my dad now. This is how the courts are going to make more money.
And there's the key that you mentioned, is that, the alienator will claim, well, I can't force them to see you. But it's the opposite that's true. It's they're forced not to see you.
That's right.
And so when they say the famous last words, I want nothing to do with you. Alienation, guys.
Exactly.
Right there.
Exactly.
Because a child will not do that.
No.
Even in the most severe child abuse cases, a child will still love and be protective of the abuser.
And that's what they're doing.
And they will love them anyway. They claim not to love a parent who's, quote, abused them. They will want nothing to do with them, whereas a real, true domestic violence child will say, I love my mom, I want contact, but I just want the abuse to stop. That's the big difference between the two. So, and especially, in alienation cases, unless there's intervention, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse.
That's right.
And in child domestic violence cases, the other cases is that it will get better over time. They will attempt to reach out, even when they're terrible. I have to say, and I'm saying this facetiously, but sometimes I wish I'd broken the law, because then at least the court would ensure that I got to see my kids and they got to see me.
I tried, and they dropped the charges.
Yeah, because
they knew it would be out. Yeah,
murderers get to see their children.
Yes, they do. The man that killed The man that killed my brother. The judge
Yeah.
ordered the mother to let the 10-year-old boy go to Kingston Pen to visit his father.
Yeah.
And looked at me and said, sorry, Miss Kovacs, but I don't believe in parent alienation. I could get that transcript. Because this was heartbreaking in 2011. I've lost my kids for 6 years before that.
Yeah.
And the judge knew because they put me through the ringer, right? I was accused of killing my brother. And, like,
Okay.
we, like, are
Sorry,
you
I'm only
serious?
laughing because it's ridiculous. But anyway,
Well,
go ahead.
it is, but this is what Hamilton, this is the police. I mean, they don't know until they know. But I was the one that caught 3 killers for them.
Yeah.
And they knew that I was a good person, and they couldn't help me get to my kids in those 6 years while I was going through the trial. I begged them, help me. At the end, what's the judge say? I don't believe in parent alienation. Like, I don't believe in.
right there. How
Yeah.
are you going to get anything done if the judge has a bias?
Yeah. Well, he didn't believe in alienating the children. So
He didn't believe.
he didn't believe in allowing it to happen, like the parent alienation. He says, no, parent alienation is child abuse. I don't believe in.
Mhm.
I order the child to see the father in Kingston. And I'm going, wow.
Mhm.
Why didn't you help me?
Yeah.
But because I had to go to an appeal to get him because the judge made an error. So I had a judge step down on my trial for my brother. I mean, the things these judges try and pull on us, right? So the new judge, he said, had I been here at the beginning, he said, I would have given you guys 100 years each in prison.
Mhm.
And then said, I'm sorry, Ms. Kovacs, but I don't believe in parent alienation. And I ordered the mother to let the father see the child, the 10-year-old boy.
Mhm.
So it was in an order.
Yeah.
So if they allow children to go to prisons and not the real, this is sad.
I would
They're setting the
never.
kids up to see what it looks like in prison. Oh, let's go and join daddy or mommy in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, really? How about letting
How
the
is that better?
children? Well, yeah.
How
You
is
took
that
away
better?
a child that goes to church every Sunday with the good parent,
Yeah.
and then no, you're going to introduce them into prison now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so ironic how we have
How
to
it
sit.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's I describe it as living in Alice in Wonderland, whereas everything looks familiar but nothing makes sense.
No.
You're supposed to follow the rules, and when you do, you kind of get punished for it. But when you break the rules, then you're rewarded for it, and it's just like, okay, I'm not quite. It's hard to live with. It's hard to live with because it goes against everything that you believe in. And it's I try, and I think Mary, you mentioned it earlier, that you're a good person. Well, I think that's why this is happening to you, because you are.
And a caring person, so I will fight for my kids. So I'm bringing revenue into the courtroom. But once the kids turned 18, I said, you know what? My hands are tied. I fought for 2 years, 3 years for you guys. You're 18. What am I going to fight for? I went to the judge. I gave him a letter. The judge says, what do you want me to do? They're 18 now.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I want you to recognize that. I want you guys to know that you guys damaged my kids.
See, and I didn't even get to 18 with my youngest. It was done when she was 15.
Well, she was 15, 17, and 18. But I waited till the last one turned.
When it ended, she was
When
15.
it ended.
Yeah.
So
it was 15. They didn't even make it to 18.
Oh, no, my kids ended at 15, 17, and 18.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah,
There's 3 of them.
Right.
But when the 15-year-old turned 18, I threw my hands up and said, I'm not spending any more money on these court cases, because why? If I were 18, I'd say, you know what? Screw you, mom or dad. I'm off to travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 18 now. You can't stop me. But before that, we should have been able to raise our kids till they were 18. It was up to us to let them go, not have them taken.
Yes.
Right?
And judge said that to me once, and he says, well, and I said, Judge, is this court going to support my relationship with my children? And all he said was, you will always be mom. And I said, when? I asked when, because my children need a mom now. They don't
Yeah,
need a mom,
when they're
if
damaged.
and when. They need it now, and they need it every day. And that was the way it was left.
Wow.
Sorry,
So
Andy, but your
what do
jaw
you
has been on the floor.
Andy's a
No, it's
grandfather
okay.
now. He just had his first grandchild. So
Oh,
we're
yay.
hoping that things go well with him in a
Well, there's a
relationship for the child.
story with that too. But so listen, things once your kids get into their 30s, things can happen. Mary knows the story
Yeah.
with it, but yeah, it's your kids sometimes have to learn the hard way. But Penny, how do you deal with all of this? The stress with your kids? You have a job and earn money to put food on the table. Must be pretty difficult to deal with all of this stuff going on
Yeah.
in Toronto.
Um, yeah, it cost me just about everything. It cost me my health, my housing, my job, my my children, of course. Um, yeah, I work part time now because that's all I can manage,
Right,
um, and I'm okay with that. It's flexible, so
Mhm.
I'm good with it, and it. I'm okay with my housing at the moment, so I'm fine with that too. And I just take things day by day. But it's cost me dearly, you know.
right, right. I bet it has.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to be okay with what you're dealing with
yeah,
because if you're not okay, then it leads to other health problems that you don't want.
yeah. Well, there is the psychological and the emotional um, traumas that I go through, and so on. And that's and I have to say, with alienation, I wonder sometimes if a death would be easier.
It is.
And because, and the reason I say that is not because I wish it. I say that because a death has a definitive date, and there's a date that you can start to heal from. You can start to go through the process. But with alienation, it's every single day, all day. It never ends. And you can't start to heal because there is no start date. There is no
Right.
foreseeable end date. So it's constant. And it's, you just try to do the best you can. Um,
This- At the end of this month, I have two children born the same day, August 29th. The first one would be 38 years old, and this next one is going to be 34. They're 4 years apart, but one's dead. I had more closure with the death of my first daughter, Nevaeh, in 1986. She was killed through the Chernobyl nuclear disaster that
oh,
happened
sorry.
out in
86.
1986 of April. Yes, and 4 years later, I had another one on the same day. So knowing that my 34-year-old is going to be 34, it's such a horrible feeling knowing that she's out there alive and I can't reach out to see her. And yet I have another one that's dead in
Yeah.
heaven, and I reach out and touch her and through my heart every day.
Yeah.
But yet I can't touch the other one. I can't hug her. I can't, talk to her. So there is never going to be closure
I,
ever.
I don't think I believe in
And
that word. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it I I know it's
Yeah.
that closure does work because I had to put my daughter to rest. I know she's never going to come back.
Right.
So it's like the case closed
Right.
basically on her, but yet she's still in my heart no matter what. But
Yes.
my child is like a missing child where the
Yes.
case should never be closed, and they
I
should
was
be
going to
bringing
say
our
that.
children back.
Yeah. It's like a missing child that you have no idea it's like missing in
Yes,
action. You know, you have
Exactly.
no idea. You don't know if they're alive, they're dead, if they're okay, if they're not
But
okay,
that's
if they,
it.
you know, and you know, as a loving parent, I mean, that's basically all you want to know. Are my kids alive? Are they okay? Are they healthy? Are they happy? Everything else doesn't matter.
Man,
And when you don't know that, it's really difficult.
I got a message from my lawyer that my daughter was missing for 3 weeks. I went 3 weeks. I hung up right away. I called the police and put an Amber Alert on. She was 17 years old. After 2 months after, Justice Taylor allowed the abusive father to take the two teenagers away from me. She ran away from home from him. But she wrote a letter to the judge saying, if you send me to my mom, I'll run away. Well, didn't she run away from him? But he did not tell me for 3 weeks. So the police found her.
Mm.
And, I blame the lawyer for it, his lawyer, Robert Haas, because he should have informed my lawyer right away, but they both waited. And then a few months later, my daughter, the 15-year-old, got rushed into emergency and had surgery. 3 weeks after I find out she had surgery. And she's all alone in the hospital without me.
Yeah.
This is what they've done to my kids, to traumatize them, to hate us.
Right. And I think you just raised a good point. It's them living without us.
Yeah.
It's not just us living without them. It's more importantly, it's them living without us, because they're kids.
Yeah.
They need to know they're loved and supported and accepted and wanted, and and that's been taken from them.
It has. It has. It's like leaving a newborn baby aside. That's how it felt like when the judge called the ex a conniving, scheming, manipulative liar, but he gets the house and kids and don't pay support until the house sells. What kind of judge says stuff like that? The one I got, of course, but you don't say that. You can't say that to a parent in a courtroom and allow an abuser to get away with it, because they're just protecting abusers out there. If anything, that judge should have said, sir, you set your wife up. I mean, he did say you set your wife up, but you set your wife up, so you should go to prison for that. You lied. You set her in jail. You should go to prison for that. But no, you get the house and kids and don't pay support until the house sells. While I get kicked to the curb as a disabled mom. And I'm thinking, wow, could I get any lower? So it was my time to rise, and I got up off that curb, and here I am today. So I'm hoping that, people that do feel the loneliness, the struggle, and the heartache and the pain, don't give up on that. I mean, what's going to keep you fighting for your child? And we're getting closer and closer. So this is why we need cameras in the court for, people to stand up and help support it. Because once you got a camera in the courtroom, you've got accountability. You've got everything caught. You got motions. You got, facial expressions. You could catch alienators right there on the spot. And judges cannot lie. And lawyers are going to have to start telling the truth. Because you do have good lawyers. And those good lawyers are getting railroaded as well.
Judges cannot lie. I would debate that.
No, but if they're on camera, they can't. They have to prove what they're talking about, because they're going to be on camera now, right? So that's what I'm saying. If you got a camera there, no one's got the ability, like the getaway of lying anymore. You're going to be caught. Just like Judge Judy says, behind closed doors, they're lying. They're hiding the truth. And we need to open those doors.
Right, of course.
So, and this will help a lot of domestic violence advocates out there as well, because all these groups are fighting for domestic violence. And once you bring up domestic violence in the family court, boom, you're gone.
And I was going to say, it's not even just family court, it's superior court too. And the difference between family court in Ontario and in superior court is, with family court, you get one judge who can see a pattern over time.
Right.
In superior court, you get like the you get what I call like a supply teacher. You
I
get the
had
teacher
6.
on call.
Yeah, I
You
had
know,
6
yeah.
in 2
Um,
years.
I think I had 10 different
Oh,
ones,
wow.
and nobody saw a pattern. And when I was said, I want, such and such a judge back because they need to see the effect of their order and what's happened over time. And I was accused of judge shopping. So what
I guess
happened? I
Andy
just
had to
put it on
go.
my
I'm
pile.
sorry.
Yeah.
Andy had to leave. I guess he's got
Oh,
a
yeah.
sick wife, stage 4 cancer,
Oh,
and
no.
yeah, so he's really struggling with that one too. They just became grandparents, and it's he's gone through a lot, and I'm grateful that we had Andy for all these years, helping us raise awareness for parental alienation and intimate partner violence, because now our intimate partner violence has been embedded in our children. So now they're going to be someone else's partner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do we help these children now is what we need to find solutions for. And we've got a lot of good therapists out there. We got Dr. Catherine Ray, we got Lynn Steinberg. I mean, these reunification places, they need kids in there as soon as possible. I know it's only going to take 4 days to get kids reunified.
Right.
Once they're with a targeted parent, by second day, the kids won't want to leave them. But
Right.
as our adults are suffering, I don't know how to help them anymore.
Um, you know who I'd love to bring in two people, and I have put out feelers, but and it's sort of related, but you'll see why. One is retired General Romeo Dallaire, who went through Rwanda and who let the world know about the Rwandan genocide. He is an
Okay.
advocate for child soldiers
Oh,
who were used in the war. Another one is Emmanuel J., who was a child soldier.
oh,
And I
wow.
think because our children become child soldiers of a
Soldiers.
different war,
Yes.
I think it would be great to hear from them. How do they heal? How do you get past this? How do you, they understand the mechanics of a child soldier, which I think that they would really understand our children and be
Hmm.
able to help them out.
Yeah, because it's a psychological war. I went through
Oh,
it with
yeah,
my father for 40 years. I was alienated from him
yeah.
before I was alienated from my children, and my ex-husband was alienated from his father for
Right.
64 years. So mentally, all our emotions
Mhm.
are there. But,
Right.
we, not all of us will alienate over the other
No,
one. Some of
no,
us
no.
heal
Right.
because we still had a family to heal with, while the another one had no family. So when they
Right.
have no family, they continue the abuse. But if you have
Right.
family to support you, you're going to overcome it. You're
Well,
going
and
to
that's,
deal with and
yeah.
not alienate, um, not repeat the
Right.
abuse.
Well, I
So
do, when I speak, I talk about abuse being a decision, a choice. You can raise your hand to hit or to hug. It depends on, once you do this, what are you going to do after? And that becomes a choice. When you're talking about the kids who have had no ability or opportunity to know any different, they truly do not know. And they need to be taught that it's okay to hug.
right,
Right?
yeah,
And that's why I say it's a choice. When you do know the difference, what do you choose?
exactly.
And when you do know when you say, oh well, I hurt, so somebody's going to outhouse this, or that's just an excuse. That's an excuse to excuse your own behavior that is wrong.
Right.
Like you and I would, Dr. Phil would call us wounded healers. The people who've been through it and think, no one else should ever go through this again. I'm going to do what I can to help.
Right.
We know the difference, but we know that no one else should feel the way we do.
No. And
So it's, and our children should never go through this.
no, they
Your
shouldn't,
children
because
and their children. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not married. Why
Mhm.
should a child go through divorce when they're not married? They're not
Mhm.
adults. They haven't
No,
gone through the love stages. They haven't gone through
no.
anything. And now they don't even want to have a relationship.
Mhm.
They're not getting married. So there's not going to be a divorce. They're not having children. My kids are 37, 35, and 34 soon. None of them have kids. I'm
Mhm.
not a grandparent yet that I know of. I mean,
That's another that's another thing. I
but
wish I knew. Yeah.
will they ever know how to love a child? I don't think so because they've been conditioned to hate so much.
It's been too long.
It's
Yeah.
been too long. But
Yeah.
Penny, we're like almost getting close to the top of the hour. We're gonna end the show in about 5 minutes. So give us your last words on how you would support a parent right now that came to you and say, "Hey, Penny, can you help me? I think I'm going through alienation."
I would tell them document, document, document. I would tell them, just don't listen to just one person. Find as many people as you can and get the consensus, and also educate yourself as much as possible and take care of yourself. Part of alienation is to destroy a parent. The worst thing that can happen is that you either commit suicide, or you're in such a state, you're almost like a jellyfish. You're the best quote I would say is revenge is to live as well as you can, because that goes against everything that they're trying to do to you. They will fail to destroy you. And your children will need your strength. When they are strong enough to come back, they will need your strength to heal. And if you're a mess, how can you help them?
Mhm.
So you need to work on yourself. You need to get as much support and self-care as you possibly can. I'm not saying selfish, I'm saying self-care, that you keep yourself built up, because then, your children win, you win, and the alienators fail to destroy you.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Is there anything you would like to say to your children right now, if you can?
Happy birthday to my youngest, who just turned
Oh,
24 the other day.
oh, happy
Um,
birthday.
Thank you. It's 15 years since we've spent a birthday together.
Mhm.
So, yeah, she's 24. Ah, and I just love them all so dearly. I wish I knew where my middle daughter was. I have no idea. I've been trying to find her. I can't. Well, I won't say I can't. I haven't yet, but I'm not giving up.
Right.
And I know one day I will. Um, I just hope that she's okay. She has health issues serious health issues that I just wish I knew how she was doing. And of course, my son, and I worry about all of them for various reasons, but I love them all dearly. And I think if nothing else, even if it wasn't with me, that they were able to reconnect with their sister, because the
Yes.
siblings need each other.
That they do. I
I'm
grew
kind
up
of
in a,
like not an afterthought, but I want them to have each other, because they were
yes.
like Velcro.
Yeah.
Try prying these kids apart. I mean, they used to drive me crazy when they had lice, because they kept hugging each other all the time. It's just, stop it. We're not going to get past this. I swear I'm going to shave your heads,
Yeah. I used to
because they
call my
kept
kids.
hugging each other so much, you
Yeah.
know.
All three of my kids
So,
were close. Yeah. They fed each other. They dressed each
oh yeah,
other. I
yeah,
mean, they were only a year apart. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I wish they had that for themselves. And, if I'm included in that one day, then that's a bonus for all of
Hmm.
us. But
Yes.
I love you, babies.
Oh,
I'm always
beautiful.
here.
Beautiful.
I'm not going anywhere.
No, we're not. We are not. We're not giving up. That's all I got to say to parents out there, grandparents, alienated children, everyone out there. Never give up on your family. Family's very important because it's the only one you've got. You can have friends. You can have as many friends as you want, but no one's going to love you more than your own parent.
Right.
So to end this, I'm going to
Yeah.
say thanks again to you, Penny, for
Thank you.
coming on to Let's Talk Real Talk with myself and Andy Martens from the Andy Martens Show. Parent alienation is child abuse, just so that everybody out there knows that pitting a child against a loving parent or a grandparent is abuse, and that is wrong. Let the children live.
And non-abusive parent.
A non-abusive
Non-abusive
parent.
parent. They may be claimed to
Yes,
be abusive, but they're not abusive.
yes, you
That's a
know.
big difference too.
Yes, and it's not only the children that are going to need help, the abusers also need help out there. You know, we help ourselves. If we can admit needing help, the abusers need to admit to themselves as well that they need help because they can be helped if they want to be helped.
Yeah.
So, in other words, out there, everybody, please PM me if you want to come on to Let's Talk Real Talk and share your story or give us any kind of education, support, whatever you've got out there. We'd be glad to have you on and help end this abuse through the family court system. Until then, I'll give you updates on Friday at the Ford Fest on getting cameras in the court. So thank you, everyone, and good night. Good night,
Bye.
Penny.
Night.